Hi, I'm David Blumenstein. I'm the Deputy President of the Australian Cartoonists Association, and we've just run a conference, our Stanleys conference, in Coffs Harbour over the weekend of the 19th to the 20th of November this year, 2022. And that's a private conference. We have our own chats, but I'm really glad we're able to bring you this one panel discussion that we did between Queenie Chan and Jun Sugawara, Jun-san, about what's going on in the Japanese animation industry and how animators get paid or not paid. It was really interesting. I just wanted to let you know there's bits of the conversation. Most of the conversation is the two of them, which is great. And the bits that are a little bit hard to hear are what's coming out from me in the room and our members asking questions toward the end. Sorry about that. It's just coming through a big recorder out of a TV screen. But other than that, it's great. Enjoy it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this interview with Jun Sugawara-san. So this is going to be an interview with Jun-san's organization, Animation Supporters. So my name's Queenie Chan, and I'm a manga-style comic book artist from Sydney, and I'll be the interviewer for today. And Garrett is Jun's interpreter. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, we have Jun-san. So how I'm going to run this interview is that I'm going to start by asking Jun-san to introduce himself. And then we're going to play a short video that will show you some of the problems that the Japanese animation industry is facing. And then we're going to launch straight into a Q&A session. And then we're going to leave time for questions at the end. I'd also like to preface that this interview has been pre-prepared. And so there is a transcript available with both the English and Japanese versions within this transcript. And this will be provided to people who are interested. So thank you very much. If you could please introduce yourself, Jun-san.
Sugawara-san, 自己紹介どうぞ。
はい。皆さん、はじめまして。アニメーター支援機構菅原です。日本にはアニメーターの低賃金問題という何十年も続く社会問題があります。私たちはその問題をアニメファンの立場から改善していこうということを目的にしている NPO 法人です。
Hello, everyone. I'm Jun Sugawara from Animator Supporters, and for decades, Japanese animators have suffered under low wages. We are a nonprofit who is trying to solve this issue through the perspective or position of anime fans.
これまでは才能ある低賃金の新人アニメーターにアニメーター料っていう料などで住居支援をしてきました。でまた昨年からはアニメのミュージックビデオ制作などを開始して、低賃金問題のより本質的な解決のために、現状のアニメ制作とは別枠のアニメ制作の仕組みっていうのを作る取り組みをしています。
Throughout our history, we supplied financially struggling talented animators with housing assistance via one of our initiatives called the Animator Dormitory. And since last year, we've also been producing original anime music videos in an effort to create substantial improvements to animators' low wages. To create these music videos, we've made a brand new production workflow that's completely separate from any conventional anime production methodology.
Thanks for that introduction. So now we're going to launch the video so the situation can be explained further.
Yep, I have the video ready to go, and there are actually some cards on the table. That is the little cards in front of you that are giving more information and links to the stuff. But I'll put the video on now.
Hello, everyone. We're Animator Supporters, a nonprofit organization. Animator Supporters is a nonprofit organization that seeks to improve wages for financially struggling Japanese animators through the help of anime fans. The anime industry is currently facing a major staffing shortage due to low pay and high burnout rates, which has led to insufficient training for new hires. As a result, animation quality has been dropping and show cancellations are becoming increasingly more common. It'd be fair to say that the industry is in dire straits. Japanese anime is created on a very low budget, which in turn means that Japanese animators are paying very little. To help the industry, we need to address this issue first. The anime industry has a long way to go before it's ready to face its issues, so seeing this, we aspire to create a new system of anime production, one that gives creators ample time and money to create. separate from the larger industry and made by anime fans. One way of increasing production budgets could be to create an industry-wide union like those in the West. However, industry unions aren't common in Japan, so trying to enact this sort of plan would present too many barriers to be realistic. This is why we at Animator Supporters have taken the approach of crowdfunding, not only in Japan, but across the world to create original anime. This strategy prevents the least amount of barriers to our goal. This is the very first anime music video we've ever made, and it's called Back to You. Led by composer Mason Lieberman and singer Caleb Hiles, 24 musicians from the West came together and donated their efforts to create the music for this film. We are incredibly grateful for them. Thanks to them and everyone who donated to our crowdfunding campaign, we've successfully managed to complete this first music video and pay our animators up to a maximum of $180 per keyframe, averaging 2 to 4 times more than the industry standard. We've started phase 2 of our plan to raise wages for financially struggling Japanese animators through the support of fans. For the second stage of our project, voice actress Aya Hirano, who you might know as Haruhi in The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya and Lucy Hart-Filia from Fairy Tale, has partnered with us as vocalist for the production of our second music video. Japanese animators, including current and former dormitory residents, as well as housing support recipients, will partner with us to create an animation based on their composition. Our goal for this music video is to raise a budget of $100,000. $100,000 is a relatively good production budget for a 2-minute music video and would allow us to compensate our creators fairly. Over the next few years, we plan to sustainably produce short-form anime music videos by gathering funds not only from Japan, but from all across the world to create an environment in which creators can work with proper funding and time. We're currently holding a crowdfunding campaign for this project. We humbly ask for your support in this endeavor.
Okay, that should be the end of the video. I would like to leave the video on screen for a little bit longer because you can see there's a QR code on the bottom left-hand corner. If anyone is interested, please use the QR code to take themselves to the relevant website. So anyway, thank you for preparing that video and let us know what the problem is. So I'm going to launch straight into the interview. And I'd like to reiterate to audiences that there is a transcript available of this interview already because it's pre-prepared and that will be available if you ask for it. So the first question I'd like to ask is regarding anime production committees. So in order to make an anime in Japan, you have to form a production committee. These are groups of corporations such as gaming, tourism, distributors, or manga publishers that can financially benefit from the anime. This committee then hires an animation studio and gives them a flat fee. So can you please explain this process in detail and how it contributes to the low pay of animators?
日本ではアニメを作るのに制作委員会というものが必要ですね。制作委員会はいろんな会社がアニメから金銭的な利益を得られる企業のグループでありますね。そして制作委員会はアニメ制作会社に制作費を提供することがしていますか？詳細を教えていただけませんか？どうしてアニメーターさんの低賃金問題があるのでしょうか？
日本では一般的なテレビアニメの制作費は1本25分間、1話が25分間で、1500万円ほどで作られています。で、これは欧米に比べると安すぎる予算なんですけど、とはいうものの、ワンクール12本分を作ると2億円近い予算がかかります。
So one episode of your standard TV anime, about 25 minutes in length, costs around $135 to produce in Japan. This is a really low budget, but be that as it may, one 12-episode season of anime comes out to about $1,800,000.
で、これを小さな制作会社が一社で負担した場合に、作品がヒットすればいいんですけど、全く当たらなくて制作費の回収ができないみたいな状況になってしまうと、場合によってはその会社が倒産に至るみたいな深刻なダメージを受けてしまいます。
So say that you're a small animation studio in Japan. Assuming your show becomes a big hit, that's great news. But now imagine that's a total flop and you can't recoup the money that you invested into creating it. In a lot of cases, that would lead to major losses, including the potential closure of your studio.
で、制作委員会方式はこのリスクを回避するために考え出されたシステムで、複数の会社で制作費を負担していくってことでリスクを回避しようっていうものです。
So production committees were devised for the purpose of avoiding this risk. So with multiple companies shouldering the burden of a production budget, they're all able to mitigate the risk of a full financial flop.
で例えば2億円の制作費がかかっていても、10社で2000万円ずつっていう形で負担していけば、作品がこけた場合でもダメージは2000万円で済むというイメージですね。
So for example, what that might look like is, say you have the full $1,800,000 budget, that could be split up across 10 companies that each invest 10% or $180,000 of that. So the stakes are lower.
で、そして、出資額に応じて後で利益の分配も受けるっていう仕組みです。
Then the profits from each company's portion of the investment would be divided among all the investors proportionate to their investment.
で、このように制作委員会方式っていうのはリスク回避っていう面では大変優れたシステムなんですけど、同時に大きな副作用っていうか弊害があります。
So the production committee system is extremely good at avoiding risk as an investment strategy, but at the same time, it comes with some not so great side effects.
で、それは、出資額に応じて作品をどうするかについての力関係が生じるっていうことです。
Depending on the amount invested, there's power imbalances as far as who has say over what the end product looks like.
で、この力関係は株式会社と株主の関係っていうのをイメージしてもらえると分かりやすいかもしれません。で、株式会社だと筆頭株主になった人がその会社に対して一番の発言権を持ちますよね。
So an easy way to understand the power balance of a production committee would be to imagine it like a publicly traded company between its largest investors. So it would be fair to say that the highest shareholder in a company typically holds the most authority over the company's actions. There's a similar balance with production committees.
で、制作委員会方式でもこれと同じ力関係っていうのが生じます。
And so again, there is a similar power balance with production committees to that shareholder mentality.
で、また、この制作委員会方式の弊害の最も大きなものは、制作会社から制作委員会からアニメの制作会社に降りてくる制作費が異常に安いということです。
The worst effect that production committees bring to the table are, one, the production budgets that are handed down from committees to animation studios are incredibly low.
実際にアニメを制作する現場の制作会社は、会社の規模が小さく予算もないため、制作委員会に入っていないことも多いんで、制作費に関する発言権もありません。
In fact, since most anime studios are really small scale and don't have much in the way of operating funds, they can't even afford to be on the production committee themselves. This means that they have no say in the budget of the shows they're contracted to create.
そして現状の制作費は欧米のアニメ制作費と比較した場合、実際に必要な額の2分の1とか場合によっては4分の1みたいな程度しかないという感じですね。
In some cases, modern anime production budgets, when compared to their Western animation budget counterparts, are actually only 1/2 or sometimes even 1/4 of the size necessary to produce these shows.
で、この制作費の異常な安さがアニメーターの低賃金問題の一番大きな原因となっています。
These cheap production budgets are the primary reason for animators' low wages in Japan.
で、そして大変残念なことに、この制作費の異常な安さを改善する効果的な方法が今のところ存在しないんです。
And the worst part is there's currently no effective way to actually fix the issue with production committees.
Right, so production committees pay a flat rate to animation studios, then reap all the profits with merchandising, foreign licensing, etc. So how does an animation studio continue to make money off an anime once it has been made, if any such pathway even exists?
制作委員会は制作会社に一律に料金の支払い、この後、関連グッズ、海外ライセンスなどの利益をすべて制作委員会に上がっていますよね。それなら制作会社は作ったアニメで儲け続ける方法あるのでしょうか？
現場のアニメ制作会社がもらえるのは、アニメ制作のために支払われる安い制作費っていうものだけでして、作品が工業的に大ヒットして、ものすごい利益が出たとしても、利益は制作委員会に入るだけで現場のアニメ会社に行くことはないです。
So the only payment that animation studios actually receive is the extremely small production budget handed from the committees. Even if a show becomes a huge box office hit and generates tremendous profit, the profit only goes to the production committee and not the studio who made the show.
So to clarify, most animation production studios are small businesses and they operate on a work-for-hire basis, where they're hired to work on a once-off project and that's it. They don't get any of the residuals from sales of anything related to anime, whether it be DVD sales, streaming services, merchandise, etc. Is that correct? Just to clarify.
つまり、ほとんどのアニメ制作会社は小規模な会社であり、プロジェクトに委託される方式で運営されていますよね。DVD やストリーミングサービス、商品など、そのアニメに関するあらゆるものの売り上げから、スタジオは一切報酬を得ることができませんということですか？
そうですね。基本的には、制作委員会から制作会社っていう構図になってて、制作会社は制作費と言われるものしかもらえないっていう形になってます。
That's correct. The only financial thing that animation studios get is the money they get handed called production budgets, and those are passed down from the committees.
Okay, so there are some bigger animation studios like Studio Ghibli, creator of many classics such as Laputa Spirited Away, which won an Academy Award, etc., that can sit on production committees themselves and earn more. So why don't more animation production studios try to be on production committees?
ジブリのような多くの名作を生み出した制作会社は自ら制作委員会に参加し、より多くの収入を得られる大きな制作会社もありますね。どうしてもっともっと多くの制作会社が制作委員会に参加しようとしないのでしょうか？
基本的には現場の制作会社は規模が非常に小さいからですね。で、東映とかトムスみたいな大規模なアニメの制作会社っていうのは実は非常に数が少ないです。で、ほとんどのアニメ制作会社は中小零細企業です。
So most studios themselves are fundamentally too small to pull this off. The amount of anime studios that are large enough to join a production committee, say for example, Toei or Tom's, are few and far between. Most anime studios are small to mid-sized businesses, which are tiny in comparison to those on the committees.
で、規模が小さくて予算もないから制作委員会には入れないっていう感じですね。
So basically, most studios aren't big enough and don't have enough financial capital to participate in the committees.
で、宮崎駿や高畑勲は東映アニメーション時代に積極的に組合活動を行っていた人たちで、ただ日本では欧米のような産業別組合っていうのが一般的ではないため、彼らも結局は労働組合では思い描いたような労働環境を作り出すことはできませんでした。
So Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata were two people who actively tried to perform union activities during their time at Toei Animation. However, since industrial unions are not as common in Japan as they are in the West, they were ultimately unable to create the kind of working environment that they'd envisioned from their union involvement.
で、この理想の労働環境をアニメーターさんに固定給を払うなどして、後年ジブリで実現することになります。
Their ideal working environment, which means paying animators fixed wages and everything else, would actually come to be realized through the founding of Ghibli many years later.
で、労働組合での解決が難しい日本で低賃金問題を解決する方法は、ジブリのようなホワイトな企業を作るっていうのがベストな回答の一つだと思います。
Labor unions have traditionally been ineffective for animators, so simply creating an ethical company has been one of the most effective solutions to low wages.
ただ、ジブリ型の会社は宮崎駿という天才監督と鈴木敏夫という天才プロデューサーの2人が揃ったからできたレアケースで、再現性が低いのが難点ですね。
However, it's worth noting that a company like Ghibli is a rare exception, only made possible by two geniuses, Hayao Miyazaki being a genius director and Toshio Suzuki being a genius producer. It's very difficult to reproduce that kind of success.
ただ今後のことを考えると、やはりオリジナル作品を作って自社で権利を持っていくっていうことは、日本のアニメ制作会社が生き残っていくためには必須なことだと思います。
So having said that, I think it's essential for Japanese anime studios to create original works that they themselves own the rights to in order to survive into the future.
Right. So the immense popularity of anime has caused many big Western media companies to take notice. And Netflix notably started producing their own original anime, and now Disney as well, which has caused a big increase in the number of anime being produced. Unfortunately, this has not caused a rise in animator wages, though, as some articles have said, as Netflix has been accused of underpaying animators. Clearly, more anime being produced and consumed globally has not raised animator pay, despite the funding and initiative coming from outside of Japan. So what do you think is the fundamental problem here?
アニメの人気は絶大で、アメリカの大手の会社も注目しています。例えば、Netflix は特にオリジナルアニメを制作を挑んでいて、現在はディズニーも制作してあり、アニメの制作本数が大幅に増えていますが、残念ながら、ある記事によると、Netflix はアニメーターさんの賃金が低いと非難されているんですが、アニメーターの賃金の上昇にはつながっていないですよね。明らかに、はい、明らかにより多くのアニメ制作者に世界的に消費されているのもかかわらず、アニメーターの低賃金が上がっていないようですね。根本的な問題は何だと思いますか？
で、ネットフリックスの話は、先ほどした制作委員会方式の弊害その2っていうのと関連してきます。で、制作委員会方式では、出資額に応じて作品に対する力関係が変わるため、既得権益を持っている従来からの出資者は、まとまった額の出資を嫌う傾向があります。
So stories like companies such as Netflix not paying their Japanese staff enough are typically caused by the second undesirable effect of production committees, and that is with the production committee system, authority over product changes hands according to whoever has the most stake in the project. Yes.
で、株式会社でいう筆頭株主になれなくなってしまうからですね。
So you would imagine, すいません、もう一度お願いします。
株式会社でいう筆頭株、出資額を増やすのが嫌う傾向がある、まとまった額にするのを嫌う傾向にある。で、それはなぜかというと、株式会社でいう筆頭株主っていうのになれなくなっちゃうから。
Yeah, so because the largest investor has the most stake in the project, many investors who've been in anime for a long time tend to be very reluctant about having outsiders invest large sums of money into their projects, as that would cause these traditional investors to lose control over the project as they no longer have the largest share in that production.
ですので、多額の予算をかけて1本の作品を丁寧に作るっていうよりかは、外資からの多額の予算を分割して、安いアニメを大量に作るっていう流れになっていきます。
So essentially what's happened is that production committees have made it so large investments from foreign companies actually can't be used to sort of lovingly produce a single work of anime. Rather, those funds are divided up amongst many cheaply made anime, keeping the status quo.
で、この話は岡田敏夫さんと山本博監督が話している動画とかが YouTube にあったりするんで、詳しくはそちらをご覧ください。
Some figures like Toshio Okada and an animation director, Hiroyoshi Yamamoto, have made some videos on this subject that are really good if you want to check them out.
Right, thanks very much. Sorry, thanks very much for that. That was very insightful. So next I'm going to move on to the subject of Western distribution of anime, and that includes subjects such as monopolies and censorship. So my first question for this segment, you have expressed a desire for Japanese animation studios to connect directly with foreign anime fans and raise money that way. However, despite the decades-long existence of the global anime fandom, it wasn't until the past decade that a legal means for global anime streaming has appeared. Previously, a lot of anime was pirated, which led to a loss of income. So it's interesting to see that US company Crunchyroll, the biggest global source of anime streaming, used to be a pirated anime site. What do you think is stopping Japanese animation studios from directly setting up websites to raise money in the West? Is it lack of a foreign language speaking staff, or lack of knowledge of Western audiences, lack of marketing reach?
菅原さんは日本の制作会社が海外のアニメファンと直接に関わり、ファンと共に資金を調達することを望んでいますね。しかし、世界のアニメファンが何十年も前から存在するにもかかわらず、海外のファンは合法的にアニメを見る手段が登場したのは、この10年ほどのことです。以前はほとんどのアニメが海賊版で入手が途絶えていました。世界最大のアニメ配信サイトである米国のクランチロールが以前は海外版のアニメサイトだったというのは興味深い話ですね。日本のアニメ制作会社が米国で資金を調達するためのサイトを直接立ち上げるのを阻んでいるのは何だと思いますか？
そもそも論として日本のアニメ業界は海外で販売することをあまり真面目に考えていないと思います。で、これは日本の人口が1億2000万人とまあまあ人数がいて、これまでは国内需要だけでなんとかなってきたからです。
So the Japanese animation industry doesn't really take foreign sales very seriously. This is because Japan has a population of 120 million, which has been deemed an already sizable enough audience to sell to.
で、基本的には日本のアニメーションは日本人向けに作られていると思います。で、それが独自性を生んでいるので、いい側面もあるんですけど。
So, in other words, they've been able to get by on domestic demand alone until now. So basically, Japanese animation is made for a Japanese market.
ただ今後は人件費を削るっていう安易な道ではなくて、海外のファンの獲得をもっと積極的に行うべきだと思います。
I think it'll be important for the anime industry to not take the easy way out going forward, though. And I think it'd be wise for them to be more proactive about attracting overseas fans.
なんか良い意味で日本のアニメの独自性は残しつつ、海外のファンのニーズにもっと応えていくっていうべきだと思いますね。
I think that we should retain the good aspects of Japanese animation while also accounting for the presence of overseas fans.
そうですね。そんな感じ。以上ですね。
So that's the end of the question.
Right, okay, thanks. Studio Trigger, which is a well-known animation studio, seems to have done a Patreon with some success. They have live drawing streams that can be used to raise money for their patrons. Would you consider doing a Patreon as well so anime supporters can get monthly donations? And do you think Patreon is a good place to start for many smaller anime studios since it's a monthly subscription rather than a one-off fundraiser?
これらにはパトリオンがあると思います。ライブドローイングの配信でお金を集めていますね。アニメーター支援機構もパトリオンを作ることを検討したことがありますか？それに、小規模のアニメスタジオはパトリオンのようなクラウドファンディングのページを作った方がいいと思いますか？
トリガーは比較的新しい会社なんで、海外のイベントにも積極的に参加するなど、すごく柔軟な対応をしてますね。で、このような対応をすべての制作会社でも行うべきだと思います。
So Trigger is a relatively new studio, making them a little more open-minded when it comes to stuff like Patreon. I know that they've even gone to overseas anime events and such, and I definitely think that that's an attitude that all studios should have.
やっぱ人件費を削減するっていう安易な道を選ぶんじゃなくて、こういう営業努力をしていくべきだと思います。
Studios need to increase their revenue streams rather than taking the easy way out by lowering wages for their employees.
で、低賃金問題は複数の要因によるものなんですけど、制作委員会方式による構造的な問題が最大の原因で、ただこれをすぐに改善する方法がおそらくないので、制作委員会方式以外の方法によるアニメ制作の方法っていうのを模索していくことが今は一番重要だと思います。
So while Japanese animators' low wages stem from a myriad of complex issues, the largest of those issues is the production committee. There's no way to immediately fix the production committee system. So I think what studios need to focus on going forward is how they can produce anime without these production committees.
あとはアニメーター料のパトレオンはすでにありますよ。
And to add, we also have a Patreon already at patreon.com/animator dormitory.
Great, thanks. If you look at the transcript of the interview, I have a link available that can go directly to Animator Dormitory's Patreon account. Okay, so my next question. There's been a recent bunch of mergers involving global anime distributors. Crunchyroll and Funimation merged, and both are now owned by Sony, one of the largest media companies in the world. This is a monopolization of global anime distribution and has many fans concerned due to its potential for censorship. Which has already happened. Recently, there has been articles on how US anime merchandise company Right Stuff was bought by Crunchyroll, and it immediately dropped all 18+ merchandise to many people's anger. What is your and Japan's view of Western censorship?
最近、世界的にアニメ配信会社の合併が相次いでいます。例えば、クランチローとファナメーションが合併し、両社とも世界最大のメディア企業の一つであるソニーの所有となりました。これは世界的にアニメ配信の独占であり、検閲の可能性から多くのファンが敬遠していますが、これはすでに起こっていることですね。米国のアニメグッズ会社、ライトスタッフがクランチロールに買収されましたが、すぐに18歳以上向けの商品をすべてやめ、多くの人が憤慨しています。米国の検閲について、菅原さんや日本はどのように考えていますか？
アニメの配信に関しては、なんか角川がどうなのかっていうのはあるけど、D アニメストアが世界中で見られるようになるのがベストだと思います。半分冗談です。
So regarding anime distribution, I'm really curious to see how Kadokawa is faring with their global expansion efforts. Really though, I just wish that the whole world had access to D Anime Store, which is a popular Japanese streaming service. And that's only half a joke.
で、ただなんか現状日本のアニメ業界が真面目に海外市場を開拓しようとしてないので、日本の配信サービスがあんまりうまくいってないのはやむを得ないことだと思います。
So I think that the current situation overseas is happening due to a lack of interest in breaking into foreign markets on the part of Japan.
で、今後はもっと積極的にアプローチしていくべきだと思うし、あとファンのニーズに丁寧に対応してくれる人にコントロールしてほしいですよね。
I think it'd be good to have a better approach to censorship and the like going forward. And I'd really like to see more people in positions of power who genuinely care about addressing the worldwide market and worldwide anime fans.
Right, thank you. So next I'm going to move on to working conditions for individual animators. And you've mentioned that unionization is a possible way for Japanese animators to raise their wages. However, many Western companies are not in favor of unionization. Most recently, Crunchyroll fired the English voice actor of Mob from the popular anime Mob Psycho 100 for being a unionized voice actor. And it wasn't actually over money, just over the fact that he wanted a union contract. So what is the situation within Japan regarding unionization?
日本のアニメーターが低賃金を上げる方法として組合結成が考えられるというお話がありますね。しかし、実は米国の企業の多くは労働組合結成に賛成していません。最近ではクランチロールが人気アニメモブサイコのモブの英語の声優を組合員でやることを理由に解雇しました。お金の問題ではなく、彼が組合契約を望んでいたという事実が問題だったそうです。日本では組合結成についてどのような状況にあるのでしょうか？
残念ながら日本では欧米以上に組合活動は困難です。で、そもそも日本では欧米のような産業別組合自体が一般的ではありません。
So unfortunately, union efforts are even more difficult in Japan than they are in the West. So for starters, industrial unions themselves are not common in Japan like there are in the West.
で、日本で労働組合という場合、各会社ごとの企業別組合っていうのを意味しています。で、企業別組合は企業側に有利すぎるため、欧米では法律で禁止されている非常に力が弱い組合です。
So when we speak of labor unions in Japan, typically what people mean are corporate unions, which belong to companies. Corporate unions are weak for employees, and they're actually prohibited by law in places like Europe and the United States because they benefit corporations too much.
で、労働組合による改善は宮崎駿とか高畑勲ですらうまくいかなかったことですので、日本での実現は難しいと思います。
So making improvements through unionization is much more difficult of a task in Japan. As mentioned before, even Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata had little success in their efforts.
Right. So due to the massive increase in anime being produced and the lack of animators in Japan, anime studios have turned to Twitter to hire international anime artists to fill the gap. Many of these people may be talented, but they lack experience, and due to the low pay and burnout conditions, many have started telling people to not work for the Japanese anime industry. So what is a better and fairer way for global animators to work in the Japanese anime industry?
アニメの制作数が大幅に増加し、日本ではアニメーターが不足しています。アニメ制作会社はその穴を埋めるために、海外のアニメ作家を通うために、Twitter のような SNS に向けました。Twitter からの人々の多くは才能があっても、経験があんまりなくて、低賃金の燃え尽き問題のような状態から多くの人が日本のアニメ業界で働かないように言い始めています。世界中のアニメーターが日本のアニメ業界で働くためにより公平な方法とは何でしょうか？
やはりまともなギャラが支払われるようにならないと、日本は働く場所としてはお勧めできません。
So first of all, I would not recommend Japan as a place to work unless you're able to get paid a decent salary.
日本は食べ物が美味しかったりとか、治安が良かったりとか、読み切れないほど大量の漫画やアニメなど、素晴らしいコンテンツが手軽に手に入るなど、住む場所としては本当に最高の場所です。
So Japan is a really great place to live with good food, a lot of safety, and easy access to unfathomable amounts of manga and anime and other great content, but the working environment is often really brutal.
ただ、労働環境はかなりブラックなので、 働く場所としては現時点ではあまりお勧めできません。
Because the working environment of Japan is so corrupt, I really can't recommend it as a place to work.
で、ただ、海外のアニメーターを日本のアニメ業界で働きやすくしていくことも私たちは大きな関心を持っています。
Though I will say that we at Animator Supporters have a great interest in making it easier for foreign animators to work in the Japanese animation industry. This is actually one of our primary efforts that we're trying to carve out for the future.
この問題は近い将来改善していきたいことの一つです。
Yeah, so we're trying to get more people involved from the world community in Japanese animation production, and that's a focus of ours.
で、現在取り組んでいる MV などの短編アニメ制作でも、海外のアニメーター、アニメ制作者さんをスタッフに迎えることは大歓迎ですので、腕に覚えがある人はぜひご応募ください。
We really welcome any overseas animators who would like to join our staff and help us create anime short films, such as the music video we're working on currently. So if you think you'd be a good fit, go ahead and apply.
Thank you. That's very exciting. So it is interesting that in your longer version of the original introduction video, you mentioned that China is now paying their animators better than Japan does. This has led to some Japanese animators leaving to work in China. So do you personally know of any animators who left for other countries, and how will it affect the Japanese industry in the long run?
菅原さんの紹介動画では話しましたが、中国が日本よりもアニメーターの給料が良くしていると言っていることは面白いと思います。そのため、日本のアニメーターが中国へ出て行ってしまうことがあるそうですが、菅原さんが個人的に海外へ出て行ったアニメーターさんを知っていますか？また、この意思は長期的にはどのような影響があるのでしょうか？
日本人が海外に出ていくっていうよりかは、日本に作られた、中国の会社で働く人が出てきているっていう感じですね。
So it's not so much that Japanese workers are like going overseas themselves. It's more that people are going to work for Chinese companies stationed in Japan.
で、生活はそのまま日本でできて、給料は良くなるので、一見日本のアニメーターにとっては良いことのように思えるのですが、日本は過去に家電で似たような技術流出をしているので、その部分を心配しています。
So at first glance, this actually seems like a good thing for Japanese animators since they can live at home while also earning a better salary. But just given Japan's similar history and their exodus of technology/talent in the past with industries like the home appliance industry, I'm still a bit concerned about this trend.
で、日本企業は技術力がある人を大切にしない傾向があるんで、大量の技術者が中国や韓国に行って、結果家電のシェアを奪われてしまったっていう歴史があります。で、アニメ業界で同じことが繰り返されないと良いんですけど。
Japanese companies sort of have a track record for not valuing technically skilled/talent employees like they should. So a lot of them go to other industries or other companies. So for example, like a large number of engineers went to Chinese and Korean companies with the Japanese home appliance industry, resulting in Japan's loss of a market share in the consumer electronics industry. So we're just hoping that the same fate doesn't befall the anime industry as well.
Right, so this...
Sorry, Queenie.
Uh-huh.
I really apologize, but I really want to make sure that people get a chance to ask a question if they have one. Do you mind?
Sure.
If we jump into that, is that all right?
Yep, that should be fine. Garrett.
Thank you very much. I'm wondering, does anyone in the room have any? We immediately have a question. We have another question. You should be audible from where you are. I'm going to give you the microphone.
Thank you. This is actually a question to Queenie. We had a very interesting conversation on the Hong Kong protests in 2019. And after 3 years, there was a lot of walking down and cracking down, actually also to the artists, cartoonists, and industry, creative industry. So I wondered, what's your opinion on China's censorship and cracking down on animations and artists now?
Chinese censorship. I'm sorry, this is a interview for the Japanese animation about Jun-san's animation organization. It would be nice if you would stick to that topic. Like if you want to talk to me about my personal opinions on Chinese censorship, feel free to email me at my website, but it would be great if we could stick to the topic. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your time, guys. I work in the Australian animation industry, and I have a few Australian and French colleagues who work at Sight and Siren, who, as far as I know, are quite happy there, and they make a livable wage. Are there any studios with a commitment to advocating better pay for their artists at all? Is there a shift happening recently, or is it still just the same predatory practices continuing to happen?
日本では良いギャラを払える、そんなことを提言しているスタジオがありますか？それともすべてのスタジオがブラックな感じですか？
本当にスタジオによって、いいギャラを払ってくれるスタジオも当然存在します。ただ、全体的な傾向として、やはりなんかブラックな、かなり体質的に古くて、やっぱりブラックな、なんていうのかな、会社が多いですね。
Yeah, so of course there's a lot of studios that actually want to pay and do pay their animators really well, but it's just a fact that the animation industry and by proxy the studios are just so old-fashioned, specifically in Japan, that a lot of them end up having these sort of corrupt, outdated work structures.
Hi. Is the reason the studios aren't putting out their own content a lack of stories within the studio and inabilities to secure well-established story rights like from other mangas, or just the lack of funds available to risk such a venture?
アニメ制作会社では、作品の権利がありませんね。その理由は、ライターとかシナリオライターとダイレクターと漫画が買うことができないということですか？そんなお金がないという。
現場の制作会社に、権利がないのは、制作委員会に所属していないからですね。自分のオリジナル企画で作っていけば、それの権利っていうのは得られますけど、なんだろうな。オリジナルでないものを作る場合は、その権利を得るために制作委員会に所属する必要があります。
Yeah, so unfortunately, the animation studios really need the production committees because they don't have enough money to hire things and create these original productions. Because should they do so and it fail, the financial loss could mean the destruction of their whole studio. So a lot of them just aren't willing to take that risk unless they're much larger. But then they'd be on the production committee anyway. So yeah, basically, yes, to answer your question, the reason why anime studios don't really create their own IPs is because they can't afford to without the help of the investors.
I had a question, which was why individual music videos to create with your animators? Is it simply the most small and manageable piece of work that can be done?
菅原さんは、まずアニメミュージックビデオを始めようと思いましたか？
そうですね。やはり、まだスタッフの育成をするところから始めていかないといけない。現状の、アニメ業界ってすごく古い体質で作られていて、例えば納期を守らないとか、そういうのが結構まかり通る、あまりいい状態ではないので、多分、これから新しいものを作っていこうとすると、スタッフをゼロから育てていくみたいなことをしなきゃいけないので、初めは長いものは作れないです。そのため短い作品、ミュージックビデオみたいのから作っています。
Yeah, so the reason we decided to start with music videos is because they're relatively short form and easier to produce compared to their story and narrative counterparts. The reason is because we really want to train our staff from the ground up, because we're using so many different production methodologies and things that are unorthodox in the industry. We're focusing on training first, and we feel like the music videos are a good outlet to train the animators so that one day in the near future we can move on to those narrative-based shows.
Brilliant. Are there any more questions? No? Cool. All right. Thank you so very much. It was really, really good to hear from all of you. Thank you, Queenie, also for running the panel.
No, that's fine. I'll just like to reiterate that we have just one more section on anime, foreign competition, and the Japanese government. If people are interested in Jun-san's answers to these questions, that'll be available in the transcript, and just please ask David for it if you would like the copy, because the interview has not actually been finished. But thank you so much to Jun-san for giving us his time, and to Garrett for translating for Jun-san, and for the ACA for hosting this panel. And thank you so much to everyone for coming today and for being interested in the state of the Japanese animation industry.
Thank you very much.
なんかこちらこそどうもありがとうございます。
We just want to say on our end, thank you very much in all the same.
That's all right. It was great. Cool. Well, we are moving into lunch. Kathy, do you know how lunch works?
Right, so lunch is down around the other side in the eating area, in the restaurant area. I think lunch today is basically wraps, same as wraps, you know, simple, and drinks, of course, and I think we rejoin here at 2 p.m.
That's right. So
the next fascinating session.
back in at 2 o'clock to go inside the production of Bluey. So
Yeah, it'll be Bluey o'clock at 2.
Oh,
So
man.
you want to be back here, but that gives you plenty of time to relax, have lunch, and get a bit of fresh air and sunshine.
beautiful. Thank you very much. And thank you to them again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you. Same to you. Nice to meet you finally.
お会いできて嬉しいです。
いや、なんかご招待どうもありがとうございました。
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, of course.
And I
So-
apologize. Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
This can happen.
No fun.